Hi everyone and welcome to the video. In today's video, we are going in depth on how to shoot a soccer ball properly so that your shots are accurate, you get sweet connection, and you get plenty of power on the ball. Now again, this video is more for serious players. On Fridays, we usually do longer videos that are more in depth. That's why you'll see that the length of this video is actually pretty lengthy. But if you're a serious player who is serious about improving themselves, then these videos are perfect for you because we're gonna go really deep and dive down deep into the mechanics, how to shoot properly, give you some good examples as well, so that when you finish watching this video, you know exactly what you need to do in order to improve your shooting, you know exactly what good shooting looks like, and you know what bad shooting looks like as well, so you can avoid common mistakes. So for this, I'm going to ask you also get out a pen and paper because I am going to ask you some questions which I recommend that you answer. Please also leave your answers in the comments so I can take a look at them and the rest of the community can take a look at them and offer you some more hints, some more tips, things of that nature. And again, if you are serious about improving your shooting and becoming a better player and just becoming that serious standout player, I recommend you watch this video in its entirety so you don't miss anything, because everything I include in this video is going to be important. So in this video, again, I'm going to show you exactly how you need to be shooting, the exact techniques that you can be using. We're going to show you where on the ball to strike it, how to lock your ankle, how to be consistent with your shooting. I mean, if any of you have ever had this great shot and you don't know how you actually did it, we're gonna go in deep and look at the mechanics of how you actually did that and how you can continue to do that consistently so that the majority of your shots are good shots and not bad shots. So let's get right on into it. We're gonna look at some examples. I'm gonna explain what's going on in them and we'll take it from there. Okay, so we're now going to take a look at some good shots and some bad shots so you can see what both look like visually, and you can look out for what I'm doing right when I'm taking good shots and what I'm not doing right when I'm taking bad shots. You can compare the two and try and guess what I did wrong when I do a bad shot and what caused me to take a bad shot and what I did well that caused me to take a good shot. And this is a great way to improve your shooting, is having that awareness. What are you doing well? What are you not so great at? Are you not locking your ankle? Is that something you have trouble with? Is it perhaps your body position or the way you're following through? Are you just not getting good contact on the ball? So as you can see, we're looking at some shots here, and right now we're looking at some good shots. So take a look at the mechanics behind these shots. Now in this video, we're mainly going over shooting with the laces. We're not looking at curling the ball or placing the ball or finishing. We will do a video on that, but we're looking at getting sweet connection with your laces, which is going to allow for you to have plenty of power behind the ball, good direction, and good contact. So that's what all these shots are. They all have that in common. I hit them well, they're on target, or they hit the post, and they're just in general good shots. So what I want you to look out for when watching these is look at my body position, and it might be hard to look and see, but look at my ankle, and especially on the follow through, look at my ankle. I'll show you some slow motion versions of the shots so you can kind of see how my ankle stays pointed down and locked throughout the whole motion. And also take a look at my follow through. Now there are a few different follow throughs you can do, and if I'm being honest, contact is way more important in your follow-through. Don't get too worked up about your follow-through, but there are a few different ones that you can try, and we will cover that in a second. So I want us to take another look at this shot right here because I do a lot of good things in this shot. So I'm going to show you it a few times. Just kind of slow down so you can kind of see everything that's going on. Now, this shot really is perfect because it's hit hard and low, which makes it more difficult for the keeper, and it hits the post and then goes in. Not many keepers are going to save this shot because I strike it cleanly, very sweetly. It's kept low and out of reach of the keeper, and because it's so accurate, hitting the post and going in, it's very difficult for a keeper to get at that. But let's focus on a few things here. So I want you to first notice when I run up to take the shot, where my plant foot is. Now, this will vary with the types of shots you take. The ball's going away from me here, so it's a little bit different, but you'll notice that once I am right next to the ball, that my plant foot is not right beside it, but it's really, really close to it. So it's on level with the ball. My plant foot is not behind the ball, and it's not in front of the ball. It's on the same level as the ball. So that's an important thing to note there. Sometimes your foot might get a little bit closer. I like to have a little bit of distance between my plant foot and the ball just because I have pretty long legs. But you can get a little bit closer to the ball when you plant your foot. Now, another thing to notice is take a look at my body when I strike the ball. Just as I strike the ball, you can even pause the video to take a look at this. I kind of tense up at my core and really contract those muscles, and you can kind of see my body tense up as I'm striking the ball. And I'm getting a lot of that power from the core and lower body. So you can see it right here as I do it. Now, contact is very hard to see here, but I hit the ball with the big bone on my foot and I keep a locked ankle. If you look at my follow through, my ankle stays pointed downwards all the way until I land on my kicking foot. Now, I mentioned how your follow through can be different. You don't always have to land on your kicking foot, but it is a good thing to do. So in this example, you can see that I swipe pretty quickly and land on my kicking foot. So this is a great example and a great technique to practice. Having your plant foot a little bit away from the ball, but enough to where you're balanced. You have your core engaged, like I do here. I'm striking the middle to kind of the upper middle of the ball in this example, and my ankle is locked and my follow through is good as well. And this all put together leads to a really, really good shot. And it's not a glamorous shot, it's not going into the upper corner, but sometimes this kind of shot's even better because it's accurate, it's hard, it's low, and not many keepers are going to get to it. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some bad examples of bad form where I'm doing one or more things wrong. I want you to take a look at these and see if you can tell what has gone wrong in each of them. Now on the screen, I'm actually going to put up what I did wrong in each of these things and what you should be avoiding when you're shooting. Now, it's very important when you are practicing your shooting, or you're shooting at a team practice or even in a match, that immediately after the shot you recognize what you did wrong if you took a bad shot. So if you can't figure it out, it probably means you need to analyze your shots a little more. So for example, I can usually tell immediately if the thing I've done wrong is not lock my ankle. I can usually tell if I've just made poor contact. I can tell when I've done usually more than one or more things wrong. And then the reason that's good to be aware of that is because now I can practice on fixing those things, right? So for example, if the main thing you do wrong is lean back, causing the ball to go up and hitting the bottom of the ball, you can work on consciously making sure you lean over the ball, contract your abs, and making sure you lock your ankle while you shoot. If contact on the ball is poor and you're not hitting close enough to the middle, you can then focus your practices on hitting it closer to the middle with good technique. This is why it's really good to be aware of what you're doing wrong. Don't look at your bad shots as something that has to continue to be that way. Look at it as a learning experience and making sure you're learning as much as you can from your bad shots. Because it's all great when you hit a good shot and you can admire it and you can look at basically the fruits of your hard work, and that's great. But when you take a bad shot, don't get mad. Analyze what you did wrong so you can fix it for the next time you shoot or the next time you go out and practice. So in each of these examples, which I've been playing over and over for you at different angles or at least different speeds, you can kind of see what's going wrong. Again, I want you to be very aware of what's going on and what's causing my shot not to do so well. There'll be times when sometimes the ball bobbles on you or something like that happens, but usually when you take a bad shot, it's just something you need to tweak with your technique. Now later in this video, we're going to go over exactly what you need to be doing to hit the ball well. You've already had some visual aids with the good shots on what it looks like to hit the ball well, but we are going to break down the mechanics even more so you know the thinking behind good shooting. Okay everyone, so I want you to get your pen and paper ready really quick. I just have a few questions I want you to answer that are going to help you. So the first one is, how would you rate your shooting out of 10? So between 1 and 10, what would you give it? And also tell me why you picked this number. So go ahead and pause the video and answer this question. Next question is, do you hit more good shots than bad shots? So this is, if you hit 10 shots, will you hit at least 6 good ones? If you hit 20 shots, will you hit at least 11 good ones or more? So pause the video and answer that. Next is, what is the most common mistake that you make? So do you fail to lock your ankle? Do you lean back? Do you make poor contact? What is it? And then how can you work on fixing that mistake? So answer all of these questions on a piece of paper, in a journal, something like that, and also leave the answers to these questions in the comments so that I can see them and help you through whatever you're struggling with at the moment. Okay guys, so really quickly we're going to go over what your feet should look like when you're shooting, what the technique looks like, where on your foot you should be striking the ball, and all of that. Now I know I covered this in a video in the past, but I just want to briefly go over it again so you're not missing anything. So first and foremost, you want to make sure that you are locking your ankle when you go to shoot. This is a common mistake that many players forget about, or a common mistake many players make, is they, instead of a locked ankle, they have what's called a floppy ankle. I'm sorry about the lag here, not sure what's going on. So a floppy ankle, just think of that as equaling bad shots. It's very hard to shoot well when you have a floppy ankle. And a floppy ankle just means that when you shoot it, when you make contact and in your follow through, your toes are either pointing up or your ankle is just moving all over the place. A locked ankle may have a bit of movement when you strike the ball, but your toes relatively stay pointed down, or they mainly stay pointed down, and your ankle is locked in place. It's not moving all over the place. So that's the first thing to remember, is you want a locked ankle. Even with a locked ankle, even if you miss hit the ball slightly, you can still get away with it and hit a good shot. Now let's look at your feet and where on your feet you should be hitting the ball. So we're going to cover, or I'm going to recommend one area of your foot to mainly be focusing on, and this is 2 right feet, by the way, just from different angles. So it's right in here, right in this area. Now if you feel on your foot in this area, you'll notice you have a big bone right there. That's where you want to be striking the ball with a locked ankle, with that big bone that you see or you can feel on your foot. Seriously, go down right now and feel that big bone so you know what I'm talking about. That's where you want to be striking the ball, in that area. Now, of course, there are other places you can strike it. Some players like to do it closer to their toes in this area, which you can do. Some players like to hit it like directly on the laces that most boots have, which is also another viable place to hit it. Remember, there's more than one technique that can be used for many of these. But concentrate on this big bone area. I personally think it's the best area to get sweet connection that you're looking for. And if you can hit it with the big bone of your foot with a locked ankle, avoiding a floppy ankle, and you do everything else that I'm going to show you in a second with the ball and where to hit the ball, you're going to get some very, very sweet shots. And you're going to be a lot more consistent with your shots. The main thing I want you to take away though is this locked ankle part, because this seems to be a big trouble area for most players. And I'll show you, or kind of walk you through how you can improve or get better at locking your ankle later in this video. So let's move on to the ball, where you should be striking the ball, and a few other hints and tips that are going to help you get those sweet shots that you really want to be hitting every single time. Okay guys, so now we're taking a look at the ball. I already showed you some things with your feet, the strike area on your feet that you should be looking to hit the ball with. I also mentioned that you need to lock your ankle. I'm going to mention that again just because I believe that's so important. But let's take a look at the ball and go over what happens when you hit it in certain places and where you ideally want to be hitting it if you want to get good contact and be able to shoot properly with your laces, with power, with accuracy, and all of that. Now again, I've covered this in another video, so I'm going to be relatively quick. So we're just going to go over the different areas. If you hit the bottom of the ball, I think most of us know that it's going to go up. This is not ideal for when you're shooting, because not only will it go up, but you'll also usually get backspin on the ball, which means if you somehow hit it on target, it's not going to have too much power. It's not really going to beat too many goalkeepers unless they mess up. Now the exact opposite, the top of the ball does the exact opposite and hits the ball into the ground. Again, this is probably a little better than getting too much loft and backspin, but what this is going to do is it's going to take away a lot of power from your shot, because the ball is going to hit the ground and kind of bobble. You'll notice one of the shots I showed earlier, one of the bad examples, it was with my left foot. This is exactly what happened. I hit too much on top of the ball and it bobbled and kind of rolled towards the goal, which is not going to really beat any goalkeeper either. Now, although we're not doing much with the sides in this video, if you do hit it on the side, this side, you'll get spin going this way. And if you hit it on this side, you'll have the opposite spin going this way. Now this is not even necessarily bad. When you're finishing or doing shots that you want to get curl on, you want to be hitting it kind of across the ball from the side. But we're not covering that in this video. We will, however, cover that in other videos. So don't really worry too much about that in this one. What I want you to be focusing on in this video is this sweet spot in the middle right here. This is where you want to be hitting the ball, in this general area. Now, you don't need to be hitting it exactly in the middle right here. That doesn't need to be the case. That's great, and if you can do that, you might even get knuckle on the ball, and you'll get good shots. But generally, a good place to hit the ball is a little lower, just to the lower middle of the ball or the top middle. Really, you can hit it anywhere in this strike zone and get a good shot off with good contact. It's when you start moving outside this zone, even in here, where the shots start not going where you want. And of course, if you go way outside the zone, then you're not getting the contact that you want. But it's generally in this middle area, top middle or bottom middle. Now, if you're failing to get enough height on the ball, you want to hit it in the bottom middle of the ball. And if if you're hitting it too high, aim a little above the middle of the ball and you'll get it to stay low. Okay? So just remember, the more to the bottom you hit it, the higher it goes. The more to the top, the lower it goes. And of course, in the sides, it will spin. Now, sometimes you'll hit a little outside the zone, but in the middle, and you'll get some spin on it, which will be okay. So don't worry too much about that. Now, it's important when you're shooting to be very aware of where you're hitting the ball. Like I mentioned earlier, I can usually tell what I've done well and what I've done poorly when I take a shot. So start becoming aware of where you strike the ball. That way you can focus more on hitting in this middle. So if you strike the ball and realize that you usually hit the side, just consciously start becoming more aware of that and start focusing on hitting this middle. Now, a few other things you want to make sure you're doing when you're striking the ball is you want to be leaning over the ball. We went over that you want to kind of flex your abs and mid-drift when you shoot, and get your power from your core and your lower body and your hips as well. And something that helps with this is to just remember to lean over the ball. Because what happens when you lean over the ball, or actually, to put it a better way, when you lean back, is it makes it more likely that you're going to hit the bottom of the ball here. And like we said, you want to avoid that because it's just going to pop it up into the air. But if you lean over the ball, it allows you to get over the ball, it allows your knee to get over the ball, and it allows you to hit it more towards the middle and get better contact. It also helps your balance, which is going to come in handy as well. Now, I'm going to leave you with one thing that I actually mentioned in the other video where I went over where you should strike the ball, and it's simply this, and it's probably one of the most important things I'll say in this whole video. I'm just going to write it out for you here. And what it is that technique, form, is always going to beat out trying to hit the ball as hard as you can or deliberately generating power. If you use proper technique, the power will come, not the other way around. Sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll swing as hard as you can and you'll hit a good shot. But do not focus on that. Focus on good technique. Every single time, focus on good technique. You do not need to swing hard. You can swing at a moderate pace, and as long as you have a locked ankle, you lean over, you hit the ball well towards the middle, and you do everything right that we've gone over, you will hit it well. But if you try and swing as hard as you can, this is a common mistake players make when they think that if you swing hard, that's going to equate to more power, but it's not, because if you swing hard, you're more likely to hit these strike zones that you want to avoid, which is going to cause it to not go where you want it to go. So focus on technique, focus on form over trying to hit it as hard as you can, and I promise you, you'll be hitting the ball more consistently. A good way to think of this, if any of you have ever swung a golf club, usually you don't hit a good shot when you swing the golf club as hard as you can. But if you just slow your swing down a little and just have a nice even tempo the whole way through, you'll hit good shots. It's the same with soccer. If you hit it, have a good even tempo as you swing, you don't try and strike it as hard as you can, you will get good contact most of the time. Remember, this ball, it doesn't weigh that much, it's not heavy, it's fairly light, which means you don't need to hit the living crap out of it, you just need to practice good technique. Alright guys, so we're going to get on to the next section. Just remember all of this. Remember everything you need to do, the locking of the ankle, leaning over, being aware of your mistakes and what you've done well, where to strike the ball, and where to strike on your foot and all of that. And let's move on to the next thing, and we'll take it from there. Okay guys, so I'm just going to give you a few practices now that you can use in order to improve this area of your game. So as you can see here. So now the first one is pretty simple, and you'll find that a lot of these are going to be passive things, but locking your ankle is something that doesn't need to be hard to learn. You can just simply practice locking your ankle through the day. So for example, if you're at school, at home, wherever you are, you can just practice flexing your ankle and pointing your toes down and kind of keep it in place and just practice flexing it like that, and eventually you'll commit it to muscle memory. Now I say do this while you're sitting in class at school, while you're just sitting around anywhere, just do that, because what that's going to do, it's going to take times when you can pretty much do it passively, and it's going to benefit you later for having done it. Now, of course, when you're shooting, I also want you to be practicing it, but you might as well utilize that time where you're doing something else, and you can just kind of practice flexing your ankle to learn how to lock your ankle. Now, to lock your ankle, you'll pretty much know when you have it. You're going to point your toes down and make sure your ankle is solid, to the point where if someone tried to lift your ankle up or point your toes up, they couldn't do it because your ankle is locked, okay? So practice that throughout the day if locking your ankle is something you struggle with. Next is, I mention this all the time, I've mentioned this numerous times, and I will continue to mention this in the future, and it's kick against a wall or some kind of surface. So practice your shots against a wall, and this is ideal because it allows for many repetitions in a short amount of time, meaning it saves time and the ball comes back. See, why I like this much more than shooting against net, and I still shoot against net because sometimes it's better for finishing or certain other drills. But when it comes to me just working on my shooting technique, a wall is the perfect thing to use. Because when I'm shooting against a net, I'm wasting a lot of time collecting the balls that I've missed or even scored, which means I'm going to get less reps in whatever time. And remember, when we're learning something that involves muscle memory like shooting, the more reps, good reps you get in, the quicker you're going to learn. So seriously, kicking against a wall is going to improve your shooting so much if you do it often. And as an added bonus, kicking against a wall is always multifaceted, because when you kick it and it comes back, you're going to have to control it, bring the ball down. So you're going to be working on other things as well. But seriously, if you're not kicking against a wall to practice your shooting or other areas of your game, you need to start doing that because it's going to save you so much time. It's simple to do. You can definitely find a wall if you look around. If you can't, then you're going to have to figure something else out, but most of you will be able to find a wall. It's just such a good drill. I can't emphasize it enough, and I really that's the whole thing. I can't emphasize it enough. Please try it if you haven't. Do it for a while and you'll just see the results that it gives you. It's amazing how much better you can get if you consistently practice your shooting technique against a wall. So next is, like I said earlier, you need to be focusing on technique. Don't worry about power. So when you get out to that wall, you get out to that net, don't focus on swinging fast. focus and concentrate and be aware of how fast you're swinging, and just in your mind picture locking your ankle, following through properly, leaning over the ball and everything that we talked about, striking the ball in the right areas. Don't worry about hitting the crap out of it. You don't need that. Next is, like we said, be aware of your mistakes, and this is so you can improve upon them. So if you're hitting the wrong part of the ball, make sure you're aware of that so you can fix it. If you're failing to lock your ankle, become aware of that, and then make sure throughout the day you're practicing locking your ankle. If it's just you're leaning back too much, become aware of that and make sure that every single shot you are focusing on leaning over the ball. This is going to be what helps you improve quicker, because most people will go out and just try and do the right thing and they'll keep messing up, and they're not noting, taking a mental note of what their mistakes are, or even writing it down. And that hurts them, because if you just write down what mistakes you're making, you'll see a pattern, you'll see which ones you make more often, and then you can plan and attack. You can focus on improving them. Okay, so make sure you're aware of that. Next is be consistent. This is a pretty obvious one, but you need to be consistent. By being consistent, you'll build momentum and learn more quickly. You want to cut the learning curve? You need to be consistent with your practicing. So with shooting, with practicing the technique, I would go out at least 3 times a week and just kick against a wall or something like that. I used to do it almost every night. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing it every night. That probably is something I shouldn't have done, because shooting does, work certain muscles that you are going to want to rest from time to time. But if you can get outside maybe even 10 minutes every day and shoot against a wall, that'll be fine. And it's that consistency that's going to build that momentum, that's going to help you improve quickly. It's going to help you learn more quickly, because the more you go out and do it, the more you'll see what your mistakes are. The faster you can fix those mistakes, the more touches on the ball you're going to get, the more shots you'll have as a reference for more shots in the future. So being consistent could be one of the most important things you do when you go out and practice. And just to make a point here, is it's much better to say practice every day for 10 minutes, so 7 days, it's 70 minutes, than to do one session, say like on Saturday, of 70 minutes of the same practice. Because if you do once a week a 70-minute practice, you're not building that consistency and momentum, which is going to build up over time. But if every single day you go out and you make it a habit, it's going to benefit you much more. So again, with shooting, you don't need to go out every single day. Listen to your body. If your body's sore, take a rest day. But if you just go out to a wall, you focus on your technique and you just shoot over and over and over against it, you'll be amazed at how quickly you can improve your shooting technique, the contact on the ball, and all of that. And again, humans are learning creatures. You will learn from your mistakes, and the more you go out, the more mistakes you will make, but the more mistakes you'll learn from. So keep that in mind. That last one, be consistent, is probably the most important one on this list. Okay guys, so we're just going to recap some important points before we end. So real quick, again, like we just went over in the video, technique beats out power. When you are practicing this, focus on your technique. If you're someone who has been swinging wildly at your shots in the hope that everything would come together and work out, you need to stop that and start deliberately and methodically working on your technique. Remember, focus on form. Everything we went over, things like locking your ankle, leaning over the ball, you can experiment with different follow-throughs, big bone of your foot, all of that stuff. Write every single one of those things down. You guys should have been taking notes during this video. Write every single thing down that involves form. Write it on a list. You can even take it with you when you go to practice your shooting, and then you can see which one you're doing well with and which one you're not. Also remember, lock your ankle. That's one of the things that is involves form, or form is involved with form. And remember, if you're having trouble locking your ankle, it's a muscle memory thing. Like if you have never locked your ankle before, you won't get this right away. So to, counter that, just practice flexing your foot throughout the day. It's the same motion, and then you will be ready, once you do that for a while, to start shooting with a locked ankle. Remember, hit it with the big bone on your foot and aim for the middle of the ball, and you can experiment later with different parts of your foot that you can use. Of course, you can use again, like more towards the laces. There's a technique that involves more towards your toe, not on your toe, but near your toe. And you can experiment with that later, but get this technique down first, because I think it's one of the most effective techniques, and quite honestly, if this is the only technique that you end up mastering, you will be absolutely fine and you will still be hitting some great shots. Using a wall is the perfect practice. And again, I want to really emphasize this point. Don't underestimate the power of just kicking against a wall. Yes, it sounds simple, but guys, you have to realize that people who become professionals or college players or high-level players aren't doing anything super complicated or fancy, or they don't have some secret or magic bullet or silver bullet that is allowing them to get better than you. They're just putting in a lot of work consistently, and they're doing the same drills that you're probably doing at your team practices or individually. They're probably just doing them more consistently or more often. This is one that's really good, using a wall to do different drills to practice your shooting. And we already went over why that is, but guys, seriously, don't underestimate this drill. It could change your game, if I'm being honest. It's so simple, yet so effective. Next, consistency. That's what's going to build your momentum. And for those of you who don't know, momentum is what's really going to help you improve much more quickly once you start building that consistency and momentum. Again, you cannot get good at anything without consistency, and that includes shooting. So if you're not, working on locking your ankle, you won't get better at it. If you don't become aware of what you're doing wrong when you're shooting, you won't know what to do right. So if you're going to the field and not shooting well and you're trying to figure out why, it's probably because you're not being consistent. And even if it takes a while for you to start getting this, keep going. If you do everything that I've gone over in this video, it will work, it will come to you, and you will start shooting well if you do it consistently. And guys, you've got this, all right? Work hard and you can do it. Again, this is not going to happen right away. I don't know if there's anyone who's been telling you like you can become amazing overnight or you can do these things. Now, I've said things like you all have incredible potential. You all can become amazing players, and that's absolutely true, but let's not sugarcoat it. You need to work hard to do it, but you can. If someone else can, you can as well. There's no more, I'm not more talented than you, and there are other players also not more talented than you. We just practiced to become college players, or some people get it to the professional level or whatever level they get to. It's because they put in the effort. It's because they were consistent. It's because they did their research. Okay, so you got this. You want good shots, you want to get better at shooting, work on these things. I've given you all the tools you need. This video covers pretty much everything you're going to need to start shooting well. Now it's up to you to put in the work. You have the tools now. Now it's all about the effort, okay? All right, guys, so, again, this has been a longer video, more in-depth. Let me know in the comments if you like these longer in-depth videos. I'm trying to do one every single Friday, so let me know. Do you like this? Do you think something should be added to these kind of videos to improve them? What other kind of long videos do you want to see? Is there a topic you want covered? Please let me know, because I want to release videos that are going to help you guys. I think shooting is something that a lot of you have been asking for, so that's why I made this one. Alright guys, so make sure you also subscribe, like, and share this video, and subscribe to the channel. You can't subscribe to the video. And I'm going to put a couple more videos on screen that are going to help you in other areas. Alright guys, so thank you once again for watching the video. Put in the comments the answers to your questions that were earlier in the video, and get out there and start working, guys, because you can definitely get better at this. All right, I'll see you on the next video.